Today I want to talk about ivy. Hello, I'm Griffiths, welcome to Gwynedd Griffith. Here we talk everything beekeeping, farming, countryside living, and we do reviews as well. Now I'm out here walking the fields and I've just been thinking about how good the ivy has been this year, or especially the last 2 weeks for bees, and just a general role of how well ivy has been doing this year. It's just been a fantastic year for it, and I just want to do a quick video highlighting how to manage honey if you're a landowner, if you own a farm. And you're worried that ivy is going to start taking down your trees, or should you keep it, should you cut it down? There's a few topics I just want to cover, and I'm no expert by any means, but I've got an invested interest in ivy as a beekeeper, because the ivy is very good for honey production. But I also want to make sure I look after the trees that I've got here on the farm, and I'll just talk to you a little bit about how I manage ivy on the farm here. So everybody thinks, or a lot of people think, that ivy actually kills the trees. It goes up the tree, wraps around it, sucks all the nutrition out the tree, and it dies. That doesn't actually happen. The way ivy does kill trees, and it only kills them sometimes, is, say the ivy is very strong, it's gone right up the tree, wrapped right around there. Say, for example, it's on a big tree, and that tree is getting a little bit of rot in the butt of the tree, or the ground around the tree might be very, very wet in the winter. Then sometimes the wind can blow those trees down because the ivy is on there. Now what happens there is, when you've got native hardwood trees, they lose their leaves in the autumn. So when we go into storm season, lots of wind, lots of rain, the leaves are not there to act like a kite pulling against the tree. So you imagine leaves on a tree, it's just like a flying a kite. The leaves catches the wind and puts excess pressure on the tree, sways it. So by the tree losing its leaves, it's a lot more aerodynamic. The wind blows through the tree and the wind doesn't then topple the tree. That's one of the reasons trees lose their leaves in the autumn. Now, if that tree with those problems is got heavy ivy growth on it, then that tree is at more of a risk of being blown over in the winter than trees without the ivy. Now, as a species, ivy is very, very, very important to biodiversity, all kinds of wildlife, but it's very important to bees. If you're watching this channel, you're into bees, ivy is a massive benefit to bees. It's actually the last source of nectar for the year, pretty much, for your bees to get the last dose of pollen and nectar before the long hard winter kicks in. So the more ivy we got, the better. And ivy honey is very, very strong. I quite like the taste, I think it's delicious. Some people don't like it, but ivy honey, a lot of people sell that as autumn honey, and it's very, very sought after. I'm pretty sure you can get a few pound more per jar for if you've got ivy honey rather than just ordinary honey. The thing with ivy honey is it crystallizes very, very hard and very, very fast. So if you are going out for ivy honey, then you need to ideally extract that once the soup is ready before it gets hard. So let's go on to how to manage ivy. So I've got some big veteran trees behind me, mainly oak. The big one there is ash, and they are massive trees. I mean, they are probably over 200 years old, quite easy, and they have got they've rotted out in the bottom a little bit. They've just become hollow at the base, and I've actually got a European hornet's nest living in one of the oak trees there. So when I first moved here 6 years ago, some of these trees had a lot of ivy on them, and I could see the butt of the trees that rotted out a little bit. So I did cut the ivy off these big veteran trees. So I took a chainsaw and a big ivy, well, I call it vein, it looks like a vein, big vein going up the tree. I cut that off, so that there's no ivy on the tree, on these veteran trees. Now I purely did that to preserve the old veteran trees, because the last thing I want is the wind to take these trees down, because I absolutely love these big veteran trees. They actually make where I live, adds a feel and characteristics to Brimbach, to Drislin, in Cortendry where we live. These big trees are dotted right across the landscape here, and I think that they are very, very important. They are probably more important for them to be standing upright to biodiversity and nature generally than ivy is by itself. Because I just mentioned I got European hornets living in those trees. All kinds of songbirds live up there. I see red kites landing up in the tree all the time. It's just very, very beneficial to have those big veteran trees there. Now, I'll take you to another couple of trees where I've actually let the ivy grow. And I've got no intention of cutting the ivy off these whatsoever. I've got a silver birch here that the ivy has started climbing the tree. No problem whatsoever there. There's a little bit of ivy in that tree. Nothing to cause that tree to topple. But I'm going to leave that there. The ivy isn't very old on there. That's probably grown there, I'd say, in the last 3 to 4 years. But I have got another tree here, which the wind will probably take down one day, because there's a heavy, heavy growth of ivy on there, but I'm not going to touch it. The ivy growth on it is so thick, that is so beneficial to wildlife, insects, bugs, bunnies, you name it. It's so thick in there that it's just everything's living. I'm pretty sure there's a couple of birds' nests deep inside the ivy. I'll just take you down there to show you that a fine specimen of ivy. It's just lost its flower now, just starting to cover. But if I took you to that ivy bush on a hot day when the sun is out, you wouldn't believe how many insects there are on there. And here it is. Look at that big clump of ivy. Been there for years and years and years. And a couple of weeks ago, that was full of ivy flower, and it was full of every single insect that you could think of. European hornets was up there, honeybees are up there, wasps are up there, all kinds of flies are up there, and they were all benefiting off that ivy. Now there was a lot of birds up there as well, eating the insects, so it just goes to show how valuable an ivy tree or an ivy bush like that can be. Now I'll show you a bit of the corner where I'm at. Here is the brand new native hedgerow we've just planted up this year. We've double fenced it so that livestock can't get to it from either side, and this hedge will hopefully be here for many, many years, maybe forever. Who knows? We planted it, it runs the whole length of the field, and that's going to be a huge benefit to wildlife and pollinators in general once that grows. And hedgerows actually act like a wildlife corridor. So little mice, voles, shrews, weasels, all that type of stuff, they don't like running through an open field when they want to cross land, because when something small is in the middle of the field, then that's under risk of being attacked by a bird of prey or a fox or anything. So these little mammals, they run and travel within the hedgerows because they've got protection in there and predators can't see them. So by us planting this hedge here, we've actually linked up that side of the road with this block of land here. So that there is doing a really, really good job. Back to the ivy, that's what this video is about. Now that ivy is actually on row 1. That's quite a rare tree for this part of Wales, but nonetheless I think that ivy is doing a lot more benefit on that tree than if that tree didn't have ivy on it. Now one day that tree may come down, because you look how dense the ivy is on it. That is an absolute massive kite, a wind catcher on that small tree. But if it does come down, so be it. That's nature, and that's nature's life cycle. But as it's still up, Hopefully that can stay up for many more years. That's going to do fantastic benefit, hopefully to the bees and to wildlife here in general. Now, a few weeks ago that was in full flower. Now I bet you that has been pollinated very hard by the bees, because my nuke yard is actually just there. There's about 30-40 nukes there. No doubt they have been there and took advantage of the ivy. I can guarantee you if that was the case, when that ivy goes into berry, that is going to be absolutely full. That tree will be rammed packed with ivy berries. I guarantee you the wood pigeons here, they're going to be chewing and filling up on that as winter feed, and other similar type of birds are going to be eating those berries. And that just goes to show the benefit of honeybees and where honeybees sit within the life cycle, or the natural life cycle. You get a flower, the honeybees pollinate it, that tree or plant produces a crop, a nut, fruit or berry. In this case it's berry, and then that feeds other animals and insects thereafter. So it actually, life starts with the honeybee, and ivy is a very important food source for the honeybees, especially this time of year. Like I said, it's the last source of pollen and nectar for the bees, so we want to keep as much ivy as we can around, because it's of huge benefit. Well, that's it for this video, and that's my rules on managing ivy. 99% of the time I keep ivy there. I don't interfere with it. It's doing its job, and it sits quite comfortably within the natural ecosystem and life cycles of trees. The only time I intervene is when they're on big veteran trees. They're showing signs of a little bit of rot at the bottom of the butt. But that's it. It's all in keeping. The countryside looks like this because farmers and foresters and countryside managers manage the land in a certain way, and that's why it looks as good as it does. Well, that's it for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and don't forget, if you like this video and you want to watch more of the same kind of content, then please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I try my best to upload new videos every week. Thanks for watching.